And this show is brought to you by YYC Hip Hop Daily. The series is a story-based journey on the local hip-hop scene. Check out our previous season on our YouTube and stay tuned for our new segments. Episodes being released every week. In this episode, we got Toosick, indigenous hip-hop artist, local audio engineer, and just all-around good person. We get to know his story, how it all started, what he's got going on right now, and the voice that needs to be heard. I'm your host, Ferno, and enjoy this episode, my people, because this show starts right now. Yo, my people, welcome back. This is the Get Into the Bag podcast, season 3, episode 3. I'm your host, Ferno, and if you're new around here, we have season 2 all live on our YouTube, so go show some love. Thank y'all for tuning in. We got a special guest with us today, man. I done brought in Toosick. How are you today, brother?
Yo, what up? Good, bro. I know you wanted to say Tony Toosick.
I did, man. I did, but I know you dropped the Tony, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone still knows me as Tony Toosick. It's Tony Toosick, a.k.a. Toosick. You know what it is.
All right, bet, man. Cool, man. So I kind of want to start this podcast episode just by saying we appreciate you coming out to YYC Hip Hop Daily, being here today with us, taking your time out your day. And really, we just want to let the crowd, the people, Calgary know who you are and how it all started for you, man. So where did your story start?
I guess my story as an artist starts here in Calgary. I guess I really didn't start putting music out till I moved here. But I'm from Edmonton, so my story starts in Edmonton, right? Born and raised.
Okay.
That's why I went to elementary school, junior high, high school, everything like that, right? But so my story originates from Edmonton. Even further back, like I'm from Paul-Maker, Saskatchewan, right? So, like that's where my bloodline is. That's where
you started
from. Yeah. Basically. So I lived in Saskatoon for a little bit when I was a kid. Yeah. Off and on the reserves too, like Thunderchild, Paul-Maker. So shout out to the Res, yo.
Yeah, shout out to the Res, man. Cool, man. So like, when did hip hop start playing a big role in your life? Like, what was that influence that first started off for you, bro?
Man, it's just always been a part of my life, right? Like my uncle. I guess my Uncle Corey, big influence to me, like always listening. Like Tupac was a big inspiration to me when I was a kid, right? That was my first real like exposure to hip hop music, I guess.
For sure.
And Bone Thugs and Harmony too were dope. Like,
what about Bone Thugs and Harmony inspired you, bro?
Oh, the flow for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
The flow is always one of my favorite. The melodies too, like it was always just something that spoke to me. I remember as being a little kid, I used to like recite Bone Thugs songs to my friends or like in school, and people would be like, how do you talk that fast? Because I listen to Bone Thugs album.
Yeah, y'all get on that.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. So like Bone Thugs and Tupac were your influences, and like when did it start becoming like, you know, like a real passion where you're like, yo, I'm finna take this serious?
That didn't really start till I really moved to Calgary. Like before I just did it for fun. I remember like even high school, after high school, I used to go out to like house parties, battle rap and do stuff like that, right? But it all didn't really start making sense till I really like decided to leave the streets alone, I guess, really, and start trying to like, what am I gonna do to make money moves, or like, how am I gonna turn what I love doing into a career, right?
Yeah,
so it all started with like making beats and being an engineer and helping other artists get there. But I never really thought I'd become an artist myself, really, right? Just kind of did it for fun.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a hobby.
Yeah.
And like, when you lived in Edmonton before coming to Calgary, did you have like already a thought like, yeah, I want to take music serious, like this is what I'm going to pursue when I get to Calgary?
I knew I wanted to go to school when I was here, right? Like I knew about the program, APRA and stuff like that I went to.
Yeah.
And I always knew I wanted to go there, but I actually couldn't get in. So I moved here when I was 21, 22 years old. But I didn't graduate high school, right? So I couldn't actually get in until I was 25 because I tried.
Yeah.
And they were like, nah.
You got to be a mature student.
Yeah, so I applied as a mature student with the entrance exam and I got in, right? So
yeah. Nah, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. So like, Toosick, where does that name originate from?
Oh, it comes from my last name, yo.
Your last name?
Yeah.
Can you let us know what your last name is?
Yeah, Toosick.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's sick, bro.
Yeah, so just, I guess as a kid, everybody called me Toosick, right? It was like kind of just a name people gave me when I was around like high school age.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit before that, everyone just called me Toosick. Sports teams and everything like that was my nickname, right?
Yeah, you were too sick at stuff.
Yeah, I was good. I was good at everything, right? So everyone just called me Toosick.
Yeah, that's a real unique last name though, Toosick. Like, where does that originate from?
Paul-Maker, Saskatchewan, yo, PMR, shout out.
Nice, man. Nice. So like, I feel like you're heavily, like your culture is heavy with you. You know what I mean? So like, how heavily has your culture influenced like you as a person that you've taken that into your artistry stuff? You know what I mean?
Well, as of recently, it's been a big part of my life, right? A lot of people know, like, or I talk about it. I disconnected for a long time, right? Was like, probably 15. I think I did the math. It was like 15 or 16 years that I was actually away from ceremony and like things like that, right? It really didn't it really didn't come together till I started having like, well, I guess when I had my daughter is when it all changed, right? Like I had my kid and.
Yeah, congrats on that, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure that like I was bringing her and she knew who we were, right? And then I realized that like I'd stepped away myself and there was a lot that I had like lost and I needed to relearn some things. And yeah, it just helped me get away from just bad habits and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
start living a healthier lifestyle and things like that, being around family and everything.
Yeah, that's facts, bro. That's really good to know. And like, so you were talking that you had a daughter and like you kind of like, what kind of cultural lessons do you want to leave your daughter? You know what I mean? Because like, you know, you have a daughter and you want to get back in tune with like your culture and everything. So like, because of your daughter, so like, what do you want to leave behind for her?
I just want to make sure that she's proud of who she is. You know what I mean? Like, as an indigenous person, I think I lost a lot of connection due to like bullying when I was younger. So like a lot of people don't notice, but I had long braids as a kid, right?
Oh, okay.
I actually uploaded a picture on Instagram where I had long braids as a kid, and then that was me, you know, as a kid, and I was bullied away from that. And once I got to like public schools and things like that, right? Like I went to an Aboriginal elementary. They didn't have funding past grade 4. So when I went to these other schools and stuff, I started getting bullied for how I looked and who I was and things like that. That ultimately led to me disconnecting from the Pow-wow lifestyle and, you know, things like that. I stepped away from my culture and just kind of, so the biggest lesson I want from my daughter and just like anybody in my family is just be proud of who you are, right? Wear your hair long, you know, practice culture, like practice ceremonies and things like that. Just 100%. Keep learning, learn our language. That's one thing too, is like I used to know a lot more of my Cree language than I do now. Now I still understand and things come back when I listen to people speak, but I don't speak it fluently, you know what I mean?
Are you trying to learn it again?
I am, yeah, I'm attempting. Like
good.
Yeah, I've been relearning and writing things down when I remember them and things like that and teaching them to my daughter, which helps me learn too, right?
Yeah, teaching helps everybody learn. Man, that's really great. And, you know, she's going to grow up learning just as you're learning right now, and she'll really know how to, like, either speak it or understand it. So that'll be something good that she also takes from what you're teaching her.
Yeah, no.
So, like, when was that time where you're like, okay, I want to start dancing again? Because I seen that you dance, bro, and that's really cool. Like, you're really good at it. So when was that, like, okay, I'm going to start doing this?
Well, I danced when I was a kid, right?
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I danced for the first probably 15 years of my life, 14, 15 years of my life. I danced Pow-wow. I used to go on the Pow-wow trail with my mom. That's all we knew, right?
Nice.
Single parent growing up. Like my older brother used to dance too. And yeah, we'd just go on the Pow-wow trail. But like I said, and I slowly started stepping away from that. Like grade 6 came along, and it wasn't really till like junior high school when things started getting, you know, I started trying to fit in with these cool kids. And, you know what I mean? And I just stepped away from it. You know what I mean?
Lost touch,
Yeah, I lost touch with it. It was a little bit different growing up in the city too.
Yeah, definitely. No, I can see that.
Yeah, so
like, when was that time where you're like, I want to get back into this? Because, like, you know, you're good at it, bro. So, like...
Yeah, well, actually, it was the first time I ever went to a powwow in like 15 years. Like, first time after, right? I took my daughter home to Thunderchild powwow.
Nice.
Just to go meet my grandmother, my cookum, right? And... you know, I heard the drum and everything like that. I could still feel it. You know what I mean? I was getting like adrenaline rush from it. I was like, okay. And then my aunt said, would you dance if we had an outfit for you? And I was like, I don't know. No, I don't really know. Well, the next day they all showed up with it and they're like, here, put it on. Because my grandmother, like my cookum, she, I always promised her and my mom that I would dance again. And they used to love going on the Pow trail and watching me dance, but it's been so long, right?
Yeah, definitely.
My cookum's getting older. So, yeah, I was like, whatever, what do I got to lose, really, right? So I suited up, and then they sent me home with the outfit. They were like, you know, it's yours now, kind of thing.
It's yours, keep
like,
it.
No, yeah, it was like, you know, pass it down, or it was somebody else's that wasn't using it, so like you can use it if they come back or whatever it is. But for right now, it's yours. I've had that outfit for years, the blue one that I usually wear.
Nice.
And yeah, I've been dancing like literally is any opportunity I get since then.
That's really cool. And like, I want to know a little bit more on like how it works, bro. So like, I did see that you said you kind of like you like leveled up a bit. So you're like in a new you know, how would you call it? So like you start as a grass dancer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cause I'm a little ignorant on the subject. So if you can like tell me, let them know? How does it start? So you start at a certain level and you just keep rising up?
Well, nah, like grass dance was gifted to me by like my family when I was a kid, right? So it's really like whatever you feel, like what your spirit wants, right? When I came back, like I was a grass dancer when I was a kid, so I obviously ultimately came back to that. It was the dance that was gifted to me as a kid, so that's just what I stuck with, right?
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's competition too, right? There's a lot of competition to it.
Yeah.
So it's really like what gets handed to you. I guess like you wouldn't go out and buy a Pow-wow regalia for yourself or anything like that, right? Ultimately, what's gifted to you or what's made available to you, and it'll come to you when the time is right. That's another story that's told and passed down, is that like, and that's when I knew it was the time, because it was in front of me, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
They presented it to me, and the crazy thing is that actually I don't talk about that a lot too, is that I used to have dreams of me dancing for years. Like
before you started dancing again?
Yeah, for years I was having dreams of dancing like all the time. You know what I mean? I'd be at a powwow dancing, I'm tearing it up, and I'm like, that's crazy. I haven't danced in how many years, right?
So it was a sign.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. And like, how do you feel that, are you more in tune with your culture and your spiritual side now that you're dancing again and you're trying to leave all this for your daughter? Do you feel like you have a little more proper guidance kind of guiding you from like the spiritual realm and stuff like that?
Well, the biggest thing is like just family, right? Like family provides a lot of guidance for me. Just, I think when I stepped away from culture and things like that, like I was indulged in the streets, right? Like, you know what I mean? And just around different things, like, and that pushed me away from family. And then when I realized like things got so bad, I actually like was fighting a case when I first moved to Calgary. I was fighting gun charges in Edmonton.
Damn, yeah.
From what, you know what I mean? Like I was just a young, dumb kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I ran away from here. I ran away from Edmonton to come to Calgary to really just like start a new life, be a different person, right? And that's how I kind of found the whole music thing, was coming here. That's why I owe it to Calgary for that, right? It inspired me in so many different ways, but
it was waiting for you here, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I mean. Like, and they say a lot with like, in our culture, like, you know, when you drink and you use substance and things like that, like your spirit begins to wander. So like when you become incoherent and things like that, like, and you don't remember, let's say the night before or whatever, that's because your spirit like wandered and left. And some people don't come back from that. You know what I mean?
They're goners.
Yeah. It's just your spirit wanders so far. And it got to a point where I was just, so like my big influence right now is just like a lot of it has to do with family. Now that I'm like back culturally inclined and things like that, I get an opportunity to just be around family, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
100%.
They provide a lot of that, the cultural like teachings and things that I missed out on.
Is most of your family here in Calgary?
Nah, in Edmonton.
Oh, in Edmonton,
But even just with that, like, I don't know, like foolishly with me, like I stepped away completely to the point where I wasn't even Facebook calling family, or I wasn't, you know what I mean? And
do you feel like your soul wandered a little bit?
Yeah, oh, for sure. You know, when my auntie is a big one for me. Shout out Auntie Jody.
Yeah, shout out right there.
She's a big one. She's really like helps me a lot when I'm going through it, and you know, like we talk a lot, right?
That's good.
And she gives me a lot of those like cultural teachings and things that I missed out on to let me know, well, hey, like this is why things are a certain way, and or maybe this is what's going on, and you know, gives me a different point of view,
different perspective.
Yeah, a different perspective to look at things. So
yeah, 100%. So like, have you ever been like, do you indulge in substances? Have you given those up? Like, did you drink before and you don't drink now? Like, are you sober?
I don't drink at all anymore.
That's good.
Yeah, shout out myself for quitting liquor.
Shout out Toosick.
Gotta make shouting yourself out, praying for yourself, normalize it. You know.
Hell yeah, bro! Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, no, I'm proud of myself. 10 months sober as of last Friday. I quit on Christmas.
Nice.
Christmas was the last time I had a beer, and I was even trying to quit times before that. In saying that, like, I don't indulge in any drugs or anything like that. Like, you know, I go out and, you know, party or whatever before when I was younger. I didn't really, like, you know what I mean? I keep it pretty clean for the most part in my life. You know, I never really like to, like, I don't really like to do mushrooms or anything like that, or trip out or anything like that. You know what I mean? But I still smoke a little bit of weed.
Yeah. That's
like,
clean.
I'll just be like, you know, I'll be straight up. I smoke weed.
Yeah, that relaxes the nerves. That relaxes the mind, slows it down. You know, when shit's going too fast and you know you're living through life and there's so much shit that's popping up, sometimes you got to kick back, relax, hit the weed. You know what I mean?
Oh, it just helps me. Like, I have a lot of anxiety too. That's the one thing that people don't realize is that, like, and I hide that a lot, right? Like, I don't talk about that enough, but when I'm not on like an Instagram live or I'm not talking or performing or something, bro, I'm pacing around my house.
Yeah.
Listening to like stuff that I wrote, or I'm like, just stuff that's going on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pacing. I'm never sitting down in one spot. Like,
yeah.
So weed helps calm me down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Slow it down a bit.
Yeah, it helps me sleep.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So like, when was that time after everything that you felt that you were like, because you are an indigenous hip hop artist, right?
Yeah.
So like, when was the time that you felt that your community really like accepted you and was like you know, they took in awe and they were like, yo, this is like, you know, I really look up to Toosick for what he's doing.
Yeah. I guess like at first it was I had issues in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, especially coming from the background I have, like I'd started like some events and stuff, and then I had people try to be like, you know what I mean? Like, this kid's some kid from the streets. Like, how are you just gonna, you know what I mean? Like, switch all of a sudden, and it's just like, well, like people that don't understand my story, they don't really know who I am, kind of thing, right? Kind of just judging me by what they see or what they hear or whatever.
Yeah,
you know
judging
what I mean?
A book by its cover.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, how is this kid from the streets just gonna come in and switch up all overnight? And it's just like, well, why not?
Exactly,
right?
Why not?
Like, why am I not? Why, like, do you expect me to still be out there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like I have a criminal record. I have done some things that I'm not proud of, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, I didn't want that for myself anymore. So I woke up one day and I was just like, you know?
Yeah, and it's true, man. It's what they say, man. A man will only change when his mind changes. You know what I mean? So you really gotta click and your mind's gotta change, and that's when you start going down a different route, man. Congratulations on that, bro. Really, you know, and like, when did you see that you could be like the voice for the indigenous youth? You know what I mean? Like, these people that look up to you and like can say like, yo, Toosick was someone that growing up I listened to him. When did you feel like that was that point? When did you overcome the people judging you and all that shit?
I think it was just through like resilience and just being, you know, like it was hard. Don't get me wrong, like, you know what I mean? Like, bringing back old stories and like things in my head of like whatever. I had my doubts for sure. And I had my days, but it was just more of a like, just every day knowing that like, hey, well, first of all, this is all I really have. You know what I mean? Yeah,
definitely.
Like, career-wise, this is all I know. Music is all I know. I've built it to this point, and I think that there's more importance in the story of like what I've went through and what I've endured and what I was able to overcome and who I've become versus who I was and like bashing that person and bringing me down for who I used to be, right? Because that's not me anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to deny anything, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, I'm not out trying to hustle. I'm not trying to make my money legally, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're on a good path.
Yeah, I'm on a good path. I'm trying to do something different, and I think that the youth have a lot of benefit from that, from being able to hear my story because I was in that situation, you know what I mean? Like, shout out to like Cousin Skateboards, one of my skateboard sponsors and community. I spent a lot of time with volunteering and things like that, but they allow me to go out and skateboard with these youth and volunteer my time and hang out with these guys. But like, when I see like the little bit of opportunity that they're provided on the reserves and in their communities, that just inspires me to be like, well, I was there, you know what I mean? And
yeah, 100%.
I know exactly what it's like in the roads. Like, I'm 30 years old now. A lot of people don't realize that, you know what I mean? We have kids, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids coming in the music industry or coming in even just in the music scene here, taking over based on whatever it is. But it's like, it's taken me mentally that long to even just get to a point, you know what I mean? Where I'm able to be like, I don't have a father. I don't have any, you know, every male role model in my life is an alcoholic. You know what I mean? So it's like, I've never had that proper guidance or somebody pushing me to be like, this is what you're expected of, you know what I mean? Like, I had to build that on my own. I ventured into the streets on my own, right? Yeah. And that was the, you know, like, due to manipulation of other older peers, things like that. But yeah, I don't, like, you can't really, like, I don't, like, looking back on everything, I don't regret things. Like, everything has a purpose. You
everything
know what
happened
I mean?
for a reason.
I was put in this purpose. I was put into certain scenarios, and I was put into other people's lives for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I said, or I seen and endured things for a reason, and everything added up to this point.
Yeah, 100%. So do you have any like wisdom that you can pass on or anything to like the youth that may be watching you and like, you know, look up to you and shit?
Just for like the indigenous youth or even just anybody, like family is so important, right? Like family would be the #1 thing. In saying that, like, just be proud of where you come from, indulge in, you know, your cultural ceremonies, or just be around family. And yeah,
that's
like,
facts.
Education is good too. Like,
yeah, go to school.
Go to school, don't do drugs.
But spiritually, you know, stay close to your family, right?
Yeah, stay close to your family, because at the end of the day, like, no one's gonna hold you down like family.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And your family is who you choose it at the end of the day, but blood's always thicker than water. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
100%, bro. 100%. So like, moving on now, you know, I think I kind of want to get to know how your creative process is now, with everything that you've gone through, everything that you've endured, everything that you experienced. Now you're really kind of got like a kick in music, you know, like you're doing good. You've got a boost. What's your creative process like these days compared to like when you first started?
When I first started, I was always surrounded by people. Like, I always had people in the studio. I always have a home studio.
Okay.
Or, you know, I'd be over at the beach and I'd have the room packed with like 5, 6 people, you know, all on one beat, kind of feeding off each other too. But I was always a person, like, I always realized that I like to be in my headphones and kind of zoned in. I don't like distractions. So I still like being around people. Yeah. And having that. But right now I've actually set myself up to where I just literally have my computer set up in my room. I built a 4x4. Like,
yeah, I seen that, like a isolation booth.
Yeah, and now my creative process, bro, that bitch doesn't even have a light in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's dark and I can't see anything. Last night I was in that thing till 5 in the morning. It's like a hyperbolic time chamber. I got the headphones on. I got a mouse in there and a keyboard, and I can just run the back, loop it, and that's what I was doing. Yeah, that's my creative process now, is just locking myself in isolation, being alone. Yeah. It's hard, bro. I got a kid now, right? Definitely. So I don't get a lot of alone time. So
how do you handle that, bro? How do you handle having like a daughter, also like having a relationship, whilst also having a business? Because, you know, we're gonna talk about your business a little later, but like, how do you handle all that and also be a hip hop artist?
It's tough, bro. Like, honestly, you got to find balance in your day-to-day life, right? Like, as of right now, my girl ain't working. You know what I mean? Like, it's just 3 of us kind of on a mission. Like, we're always traveling, right? Yeah. It's either like Edmonton or in-betweens, or going to a different powwow or things like that, right? And yeah, I think with her not working, it makes it a lot easier. Because she gets to be one-on-one with the baby a lot. Yeah. And then, you know, in the times in between, she's helping manage me get to places. So shout out wifey. Like, she manages your music career? Just like my bookings and things like that. That's keeping me scheduled. Bro, like, you have no idea. Like, with so much going on, she'll literally be like, hey, you know, you have to be in Edmonton tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, I'm literally doing an interview, a show. No, I'm just kidding. Like, it's like that though, right? Because opportunity started arising when I started speaking positively and started, like, when I really made the change, made the 180 and like really started uplifting. And maybe this was the path you were always kind of chosen for, and you just had to get there. And now that you're here, all these doors and opportunities are opening because this is the right path. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's a lot to do with like the indigenous community too. Like, now that our voices get a chance to actually be heard, so I'm now getting people want to hear what I have to say within my new music, unreleased stuff that I got. Yeah. And just the message that I have, right? People want to hear that. And then aside from that, like, even with the youth, just in the communities, like, there's more like awareness being brought to like what's actually going on there, where like communities are now inviting more people out. You know what I mean? Like, I get an opportunity to now go out to the communities and help uplift them. And I've just gotten to that point where it's, you know, like, people want to see and hear what I have and have to do, and I have a lot to offer for them, right? So yeah, 100%. So like, to speak on a little bit on the unreleased tracks that you got, man, I listened to a couple and I really messed with Holy Ghost. So and you know, there's a deeper meaning to that song, right? There's a deeper meaning to anything that you say, because like, you know, it's surface level a lot of the stuff sometimes, right? But like, what's the main message that you want to get across to, like, let's say someone's tuning in and they don't really know much about what's happening. Maybe they're ignorant as hell, right? Or whatever, you know, people have their lives and they just want to know, like, what's the message that you want to give out? Well, that song was, shout out Augie Stacks. That was a feature on that. Actually, big shout out to Augie. that was the first track I wrote like in almost like 6 months. You know what I mean? Like I was in a big mental hole where I was like, it's like I said, it's hard having a kid, having this and that. I had vaulted music. I was performing music that I had written like a year ago. I haven't even released yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I hadn't even, like, a lot of people don't know that I'm actually fighting a case right now too. Like I'm dealing with some legal issues. I won't get into it.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
If you know, you know. And yeah, it's really struck my financial like budget on a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like what would have been going towards my music is now going towards legal fees and things like that,
100%.
right? And with a kid and everything, it's hard to provide, right? So yeah, like just a lot with that. And aside from like mental barriers, things like that, I wasn't putting music out. Augie really brought me back in with that one. He said, look, I got a track about like residential schools and things like that. So that's what the message on Holy Ghost is kind of just bringing awareness to what it's like for Indigenous people.
Yeah.
Because on Augie Stacking verse, he talks a lot about like, you know, like they don't want to go what we've been through. He talks a lot about like alcoholism, where our people are now and like what the result of. And then with my verse, it's just like a lot of, I guess like I use a lot of personal experience and what was going through my head too with that. Like at the second half of my verse, I talk about my cookum. Well, my cookum, when I've been listening to this stories about this stuff dating back to like, you know what I mean? Like 1990, early 2000s.
Yeah,
I've been hearing about graveyards and I've been hearing about this stuff from my own cookum, from my grandmother, you know what I mean? And they never look into it. And then now when it resurfaces and I go and I ask her, well, I'm seeing all this stuff on the news. So I go and I call my cookum and she's on the other phone crying, telling me that like she would never even tell me what she endured. She wouldn't tell anybody in our family what she would go through. And that messes me up because it's like, I'll never know, you know what I mean? Like I'll never know the real history behind it. So
yeah, definitely.
There's some dark history there for sure.
So in the Holy Ghost, you do speak a little bit about all the residential school and everything?
Yeah, I speak about like, I guess what it was like there, like how my cookum can't really explain her stories and what it's like, and you know, certain topics in there. It's a banger for sure. It's a real deep.
You think
song.
we could show the public a little clip of the song?
Yeah, let me call Augie real quick.